Welcome to the summer edition of the weekly show with Jimmy and Joe, where we talk about leadership always because we believe it is always about leadership. We are thrilled to have Salome Thomas-EL today as our guest. Principal L has been a teacher and principal since 1987. He received national acclaim as a teacher and chess coach, where his students have gone on to win world recognition as 8-time national chess champions. In his thought-provoking presentations, Principal L shares how we can develop positive relationships and foster a supportive school culture so teachers and leaders can focus on the protective processes that impact and build resilience in all of our students. Principal L brings a powerful combination of passion, caring, and leadership to craft a refreshing, common-sense roadmap for parents, teachers, and administrators to help kids achieve their dreams no matter the odds. Principal L is currently a K-8 school leader in Wlimington, Delaware, and speaks to groups around the world. He is a regular contributor on the Dr. Oz Show and is the author of the best-selling books Choose to Stay, The Immortality of Influence, and he is the co-author of the newly released Passionate Leadership, Building a Winning Team and Retention for Change. Welcome, Salome Thomas-EL. How you doing, my friend?
I'm great, man. It's great to be here with you, Jimmy. It's great to be here. It's summertime, we should be relaxing, but as you know, leadership always. So always on point. So I appreciate being on this journey with you.
I appreciate it, buddy. Here, I have to ask you, man, I just recently had a chance to break some bread with you in Kansas City at Jack Stack Barbecue. And my question is this, Salome, how do you always just keep looking so good? Just tell me a little bit about this little regime, this fitness regime, because I see you on social media all the time, showing yourself, looking how good you look. Talk to us a little bit about that, buddy.
Well, you know what it is, Jimmy, is I actually stole some secrets from my staff in the staff lounge. I actually made a video and talked about this, how, I would just kind of hang around. A lot of people talk about how the negativities in the staff lounge, but the ladies talk about their beauty secrets. And so I would often steal, and they often talk about like face scrubs. So I make sure I use face scrubs. They talk about making sure that they're working out and doing their cardio. So I just would steal little nuggets from my staff and try to take care of myself, because as you know, we're no good to other people. Leadership is about service. If we're serving others, we've got to take care, of ourselves. And I just want to say I'm honored that you're interviewing me, because I know that you were tight on your slots and you were thinking about Tom Murray, and then it came down to sort of like a toss-up question on sports, and Tom thought quarterback was a refund, so I was able to win out. So I'm just thankful that I won the slot and I'm here, man. But blessed and honored to be able to lead and take care of myself. I do try to run and lift 3 to 4 times a week. I try to eat healthy. When you have me out eating that barbecue, I had to let it all go, Jimmy. For the most part, I try to eat lots of protein and veggies, and every now and then make sure, I enjoy myself for sure.
Good for you, buddy. Hey, you know what I'm already excited about? I can't wait to show that little clip to Tom Murray. I'll show him that. Make sure I take care of him as well.
I know that's your guy,
That's right. Well, hey, Salome, we got just a few questions for you today. We want our audience to hear from you today, so we're going to get right into it. So, Salome, if you don't mind, take our audience on a journey and tell us how you ended up being a school leader, my friend.
Jimmy, I grew up in the inner city of Philadelphia and attended public schools. My mother, was a struggling parent, raising 6 boys. And so my teachers were really, our support system, my teachers and coaches. And so when I graduated high school and college, I started working in television. My teacher said, why don't you come and I was working in sports television, said, come talk to our kids in career day in high school. And, high school folks always have ulterior motives. Come talk to them about your job. And some kids in the audience said, listen, if these teachers supported you, how come you aren't a teacher? It was the first time I really thought about that. Like, why, why hadn't I chosen the path of those who basically were saving Private Ryan every day? And I quit my TV job and got a master's degree and started teaching. Came back 2 years later, started teaching in the same high school. And some of those kids ran up to me and I thought they say, welcome back, Mr. L. They said, you were a fool to leave that TV job. We were hoping you would help us get a job when we graduate. High school kids can be very concrete, but I mean, you're a high school principal.
Yeah.
But they also, Jimmy, can make you feel like you walk on water, and but I realized that working in a high school, that high school reform does not begin in high school, that many children enter high school who struggled in elementary and middle school. And so I spent the next 10 years of my life in a feeder middle school. And in 10 years in our community, we lost almost 20 young people to murder in our community. And I said, I've got to find a way to reach these kids, to teach them that they can choose the behavior, but they can't choose the consequences. And that's when I started teaching kids to play chess. I started teaching special education students first, teaching them mathematics on the chessboards. And then all the kids started to play, and then they all started beating me, beating the other teachers. Then they started beating other schools, other middle schools, high schools. Then Arnold Schwarzenegger came to visit our school. One of my girls checkmated Arnold. Arnold said, "You terminated the Terminator." And then Arnold said, "When are you going to write a book?" And that's how I ended up writing I Choose to Stay. And I said, "I'll write the book, you write the forward." And then Arnold actually wrote the forward and I Choose to Stay. And I said, I want a school where all of my kids must play chess. And I became a principal at an elementary school, 1 block from my middle school. So now I had kids playing chess in grades K to 8. And that was my beginning, 1999. My
Wow.
first year as principal, man. And I'll never forget. I was like, I could be selling used cars right now, because this leadership is for the birds, but every year you get better. Every struggle makes you stronger. And then you just meet so many wonderful staff members, and kids. And I'm 22 years in,
Yeah.
on this journey, Jimmy, and I'm not looking back, no hesitations, no reservations, no regrets.
Good for you. 22 years in. Oh my God, that's exactly where I ended. 22 years at it, buddy. And you're
Yeah.
right. The role of the leadership, or any role of any role in education, is so challenging, right? Because the variable is always changing, right? When you're working with kids, you're working with,
Yes, sir.
even adults, we're unpredictable. We're unpredictable. And
That's the challenge. When I wanted to become a teacher, my mom said, "Best job you could ever, best decision. Just remember, every teacher is not a parent, but every parent is a teacher."
that's right.
Jimmy, when I wanted to become a principal, my mother said, "Have you lost your mind?" I said, "Mom, my mother was a paraprofessional in our school district. She said, 'Why do you want to supervise adults?' I said, 'I'm tired of breaking up fights in the cafeteria in my classroom.' She said, 'As a principal, you will break up more fights between teachers than you ever had, in the classroom.' She said, 'But if you're going to be successful, remember that arrogance is the Achilles heel of the school leader.' She said, 'The school principal, go in and bow down to those old ladies. They've been there for principal after principal after principal.'" And I've held on. And my mom passed away in 2002, Jimmy. And I've never ever forgotten, those words from her. How important it is to know that as a leader we serve. And if service is beneath you, leadership will always be beyond you. And I think that's the one thing that's kept me alive. And I wake up every morning with determination, go to bed every night with satisfaction, because I never forgot those words from my mom, who, and I know you're real close to your mom too. You learn a lot, mom. So, it's nothing like the relationship between a mother and a son.
Yeah.
But my mother taught me, man, serve, serve, serve. No one is ever beneath you. And as long as your staff knows that, as long as the people, even the audience, we speak to audiences of thousands of people. Those people in the audience, they know they can feel your heart and know that you're speaking to them from your heart, to theirs. They receive it and they take it, other places.
Yeah. What a blessing, man. When you share that with your mom, just touches my heart, because I know how important our mamas are to us, the lessons they teach us. So we try to carry those forward. And the fact that your mama was a paraeducator, my mama was a paraeducator. My mom was also a cook in the school cafeteria. And my mom retired as a paraeducator. So that's awesome that we share that in common, my friends. So,
Yeah.
all right.
My mom didn't cook in the cafeteria. Let me tell you what my mom did. I was trying to get some kids to come to Saturday school because they were struggling during the week. This is my early years as a teacher. So the kids wouldn't show up on Saturday. So I told my mom, if would you cook if I invite them? I said, because they'll come if you cook. So she started cooking in the house. The kids never missed a Saturday. Jimmy came and 2 of those kids in my Saturday program have master's degrees and are now educators. They were these struggling kids, right? In a struggling community. But I knew if I could get them, just more time with them. And my mom said, "I'll cook." My mom's a good cook. My moms, they cook it up, right? So and the kids still talk about it today. how because there's something about cooking a meal, for your son, for your son's friends, and for you, and then for the students. As you know, your mom was a cook in the cafeteria. Those children will never forget the lunch ladies, they call them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My mama cooked for my students a couple times, but she also would regularly cook for our staff. She would actually come to the school and cook, and we would use the family consumer science room, and we'd get everything ready. My mom and dad would come up. She'd have everything ready. People would just come through the line and just get the latest of Mama Casas. And so it's always some good memories. So I hear from teachers every now and then. Those were the good old days. So
she spoiled you,
she's
man.
an angel, right? She's an angel. That's right. That's the only reason I made it as long as I did, Salome. They didn't really care about me. They just want to know, is Mama coming to cook for us again? So
nothing like a good mom.
Little method to my madness there, my friend. So,
right.
Hey, listen, Salome, so talk to us a little bit. Can you share a challenge you faced during your career that made you question whether or not you could continue doing the work as a school leader? Because we know the challenges that come with it, right? Any role in education. But talk specifically about the role of the principalship and the challenges you may have faced that made you question, right? Because I think we all do at some point, right?
Oh, yeah. And lately, more often than ever, these last few years have been rough on us, teachers, school leaders, anybody, who's working with young people. But yeah, about 5 years ago, Jimmy, I was struggling with the fact that my teachers were really underpaid. And I really was campaigning my board and the other folks in the state to really raise teacher pay, and more specifically, at our school. And my board was not supportive of it, to the point, Jimmy, where they basically tried to fire me because they felt that I was betraying them by advocating for my teachers. They said, we hired you. You advocate for us. You advocate for why their salaries are okay, not for why they deserve, more money. And I got a call one day. Listen, the board. Matter of fact, I think we were together, Jimmy, when this happened.
we were
together when this happened. I'm like, yo, what's? And they brought the police.
We were in Kansas City, right?
Yes,
we were in Kansas City.
What is it about Kansas City, man? But they had brought the police in, changed the locks on the doors, and made it seem like I had done something wrong, whatever. And I just didn't know where it was going to go, from there. But my staff basically, they met with my staff and just said, we're investigating Principal L. And my staff said, what did he do wrong? Because they knew I've been advocating for higher pay for him.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we can't tell you what he did wrong. And they told me, turn in your computer, turn in your keys. And my staff said, well, if he's not working here, we're not coming to work. We're taking off. We're walking out tomorrow. And my board told my staff, you walk out, you're going to get fired. The next day, 30 staff members stayed home. Now I have 60 staff. 30 came to work, said somebody had to be there to let the kids know what was going on, right? Because they're going to be wondering what's happening. But that touched me more than these people put their job. And some of these folk that I heard were advocating for me were people who, I had been in some battles with as staff members, as an administrator, supervisor, you're not always the person that people, you get kicked, you get talked about, you get laughed at, you get rejected. That's what leadership is. But in the heat of the moment, the people knew that even when I was trying to improve them, it was always about the kids. And when the battle came, they fought, for me. And the governor got involved, and 5 board members ended up resigning, and I was able to keep my job. The teachers got a raise. The administrators, they were happy because they got a raise, a byproduct. They got a raise. The parish, everybody, but for me, I was like, wow, my board can do that to me. Is this really, and my kids at home was a struggle for me because my daughters were like, Dad, you shouldn't go work at that school. They don't appreciate you. But you know what I had to explain to them, Jimmy? That might be true, but you know what? The school is not those folks who were trying to get rid of me.
Mm-hmm.
The school is the people who put their jobs on the line for me. Those teachers who fought for me. I said, when I don't go back, because I was getting calls from superintendents everywhere after that, like, come take over, when I don't go back, I turn my back on those people who put their jobs on the line for me. And my kids understood, and I went back. But it really made me question, Jimmy, who are we really serving out here? Because if we're not taking care of these teachers, because they're taking care of our children, and that's why so many are leaving the profession now, because the system just has not been good, to our teachers. But I also, met with my administrative team, and they told me, they said, listen, there were some days, because it was a couple of days, they had me locked out of the
Yeah.
building. And they just said it was a lot of crying, a lot of soul searching. And many of them said, I found my why with all of this, going on. I really found out that this is the true test of leadership. Like, is this battle, really worth it? But I also saw that, we sometimes we don't understand what are the, how do we benefit from always fighting and being a champion for others. But it's because people watch and learn from us. So when their moment comes, they're ready to fight. They're ready, and they fall from. People said that was lean on me, 2017. Like the
Joe Clark.
But it just made us all stronger, and my staffs printed up shirts. We are family. It was amazing how we all came together after that, stronger. But it did make me question the system, and I kind of knew that today that this was coming back then, because I saw that we're really not taking care of the people who are serving our children. People working in schools need to be treated a lot better. And if we don't do something quickly, it's only going to get worse.
Yeah, that's why I always say, right? Leadership isn't about how we behave or respond when we know what to do. It's how we behave and respond when we don't know what to do. And I remember watching that day, and I know you didn't share this, but I was there, so I observed and witnessed some of it. And it wasn't just the teachers that were advocating for you; it was your families. They were reaching out, and they were supporting, they were advocating, they were putting calls in. I remember that, right?
Listen, I'm telling you, there was a parent.
It was good stuff, buddy. It was good stuff. It's a reminder that people who feel valued and appreciated will always give more than what is expected, and that's why you continue to do more and give more, because you do feel valued and appreciated by your school community. So Salome, if you could go back though to go back and do one thing differently in your career that you think would lead to a better outcome, what would that be? What would you go back and do differently? Think you'd get a better result?
Better result. I'm telling you, I don't think there's anything that I could have done differently. There are plenty of mistakes I made. I'll tell you one of the things that when I became a principal, elementary principal, I wanted to convert my school into a K-8 building. And we were a K-5 school. And all the research was out there. Students in K-8, middle school students in K-8 buildings, fewer suspensions, higher grades, better attendance in K-8 buildings than in middle school buildings. So I wanted to convert our school, so we added a grade every year. But what I didn't do is I didn't get the input of my staff. Many elementary teachers are intimidated by middle school kids. They're the same kids we had as 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-year-olds. They're just bigger. But I started this transition and they kind of sort of told me how they felt, but I didn't give them a chance to really share their fears. And once I finally saw and realized that their resistance wasn't me, the resistance was change. Once I was comfortable with that, then I was able to say, listen, tell me why you're resisting the change. What are your fears? And they talked about how these students are older and they're bigger. But I talked to them about how many of us, our own children, because a large number of teachers and administrators in public schools have their kids in either private or parochial schools. Many of those schools are K-8 buildings in elementary school. So, and many of them shared how their own children were in K-8 buildings. So they knew the value of it. So I said, we all know it's important. So we just need to, let's make sure that we stay close to the children. Let me get you the professional development you need to deal with adolescents. So if I could have done it over again, I would have started from ground zero, had the staff input, buy-in, part of the planning, the whole 9 yards. I think the transition would have been better. But here's the caveat though. I don't think I'd be the leader I am now without learning from that struggle. There were some lessons that I learned, from that. So if I had done it differently, it would have been a more smoother transition because we did become a K-8, building. But I learned a lot, and much of it was really about making sure that all stakeholders have a voice, and are also making sure as leaders that we listen.
Yeah, that's
We listen. We tell other people, teachers, listen to your students, listen to your parents. We tell parents, listen to your children, tell children, listen. But as leaders, we need to make sure that we're listening to the people who are on the ground. And many of our colleagues that are out there, they're struggling. Some don't get it, Jimmy, and they need our support. And people, somebody asked me in Ohio recently, like, why do you go out and speak to these audiences? And I said, honestly, because I'm hoping that there's one administrator, one leader, one aspiring leader who hears me and says, you know what? No, this job that I'm doing, that I'm about to embark on, it's not about me. It's not about having power. It's really about me empowering others. And so if I can help some leaders out there understand that, and I think that I will have helped the profession, but also help the next generation of leaders.
Yeah, I appreciate your honesty there in that challenge. And I think that's a challenge that many of us as leaders have faced at one point or another in our career, right? And that's why, when we do this show and we talk about why it's always about leadership, right? But it's always about leadership because there are so many different components, right, that we have to think about. And one of the things you just shared, which is a really critical point that I want our audience to remember, is it wasn't, you talked about how your staff resisted and so forth, because it sounded like people knew what the right thing was to do. They knew that would be a better result going K-8, but it was the process. And the problem with the process is they had no voice in that process.
Right.
And you're absolutely right. So some of our own leadership failures end up becoming part of how we grow as leaders. And those audiences you're speaking to, Salome, even if it's someone out there who's been a veteran administrator or a veteran teacher, it's just that they forget, right? It's not like, oh my God, this was rocket science, or oh my God, I can't believe it's just a reminder. Like, why did I stop doing that? Like, I know that. It's because of the pacing of the job, the pressures of the job, the amount of expectations that are laid on us to solve these problems and to fix these issues. And we're trying to do all these things. And we sometimes just kind of lose our way and we don't see it in the moment. And I think that's going to be a great reminder for our audience again. Is just, hey, always remember that the process, when it allows other people to have a voice in that process, will almost always get us a better result. So love it. So, hey, so I know we're about halfway through our little interview here. So I want to take a moment and just pause for a second, Salome, because, you mentioned this fact that you're going out and talk to audiences. Talk to us a little bit about some of your works. I know you're I believe now a 3-time author. You speak all over the country. And I'll be honest, I still remember the first time I heard you speak, Salome. Man, it was powerful. And it was right there in Iowa. And I took my admin team and I go, we got to go see this guy. And they're like, okay. And we go down there. And I still remember, man, you wowed them and you just lit them on fire. And I believe we went and had some ice cream with you, right? We even had a little ice cream there in Iowa. So talk to us about some of your works. What is the work you're doing? Take a moment here, because I know sometimes we're kind of such a humble profession that we don't like to really brag on ourselves. But I want you to take a moment to say, I want you to be proud of the work you've done, right? For your mama, for whoever. Talk to us a little about your work and what you're currently doing and where people can find you if they're interested in reaching out to have you come speak at their school and have you come light their staff on fire. Talk to us a little bit about that, my friend.
Yeah, thanks for remembering that event. And yes, I come to Iowa. That was actually, and believe it or not, that was a United Way event, Jimmy. It wasn't like school district event. It was a United Way. It was a great it's a great
and we had just opened up a convention center. In fact, I bet if I go back and research it, you were probably one of the very first events that were held in that arena. It was pretty awesome. Beautiful facility.
Really?
Yeah, it was right downtown. We had just built it. It was a big deal for us.
Yes,
a little mini convention center, but it was pretty cool.
Yeah, and I and just to set the record straight, you said 3-time author. I'm actually working on book number 6.
Oh,
Jimmy,
there you go. I'm way behind, buddy. I'm way behind. So share us your works, your favorite of those 6 works.
Yeah,
obviously the first one I know, Choose to Stay, right? Talk a little bit about that, and then where you ended up now today.
Right. First one is I Choose to Stay. Of course, it's my autobiography and story of the chess program, and also was spearheaded I Choose to Stay movement, because we've got thousands of people wearing these I Choose to Stay shirts around the country, in Africa, somebody in Korea, just wore one, so Canada, and but the follow-up is The Immortality of Influence. Will Smith wrote the forward in my second book. Disney actually bought the movie rights to my first book. We're trying to get Will to play me in the second book, but we didn't, get the deal done. And then Disney kind of wanted me to leave my job, and they wanted to own the rights to my life story. And I just wasn't ready for that. So I just kept pushing on, as an administrator. And then I've met my two co-authors, TJ and Joe, who are superintendents, in Delaware. And we wrote Passionate Leadership. Then we wrote Building a Winning Team, which you actually wrote the forward in that book for us. And then the follow-up to that was Retention for Change, which is probably going to be the most powerful book that I've written, that we've worked on, because it really is about how are we building cultures in school where teachers are knocking the door down to get in and not knocking the door down to get out. Same for parents and same for students. And how are we changing what we do, changing the system so that we can retain these folks who have, given so much, of themselves. I'm actually, book number 6 I'm working on, for ASCD right now. And that's really a book on giving kids, everything that they need to be, successful. But, as you know, I'm active on Twitter, at principal_EL, Facebook, Instagram. My website is principal.com. But real important for me is the fact that I get to lead a K-8 building, in Wlimington, Delaware, high poverty community, great kids who go off to some wonderful high schools and colleges. And I get to go out and speak to audiences about that work with those young people. My work, I'm 35 years, Jimmy, and I really get to talk, from the heart, from different states, different countries, now with the advent of the virtual, presentations, we can reach a large international audiences without, leaving our homes. But it's a chance for me to send a message out that teachers matter. And they are the most important thing to us in this world. I mean, the most noble profession, second to the soldier who's out there fighting in the war for us right now. These teachers are really fighting some amazing battles, and I know there are many who have left the profession, and I understand why. But there are a large number who are staying, Jimmy. There are a large number of teachers and administrators who are fighting through the struggle, staying in the battle, and helping the next generation of educators, get through that, that passage. But that's my story, and I'm happy that God has blessed me to give me the ability to be able to meet so many wonderful educators from all around the country and around the world, but also to be able to touch the lives of teachers and students, in my school, in my community, and the parents as well.
Well, like you said, there are so many Salome that are choosing to stay, and I'm glad that you continue to choose to stay. So, audience, if you're out there, you're looking for a person to come in and share their passion and light a fire into your staff and give them some practical things to think about as they continue on this, we know, very challenging journey. This guy is your man. Look him up at principal.com. I promise you, you will not be disappointed.
And I'm going to see you this summer, right? I'm going to see you in Virginia, right?
That's right, buddy. I'll see you there. I'll see you there.
In July, just so your people know, in July, I'm going to be in Austin, Texas. I'll be in Virginia, and I'll be in Indiana as well. And in August, I'll be in Utah, Texas again, Kansas City, Ohio. So if you listen, reach out to me, go to my website. I love meeting people. People just random. I know it happens to you. They just randomly come show up and meet you when they know that you're going to be certain places. And I always enjoy meeting the amazing people who are out on the road out there, Jimmy.
Well, now I'm a little bummed knowing you're going to be back in Kansas City without me, because I'd rather be there. No offense to Virginia, but I bet we can find some good food in Virginia too. So.
Oh, we will. We will.
All right, Salome. Well, tell us a story, Salome, about a student or a colleague who left an impression on you that you would like to give credit for helping you become a better teacher, education educator or principal. Talk to us a little bit about that. In your bio, Salome, I did see and read about a young man that you had as a student who was murdered on a street corner.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a feeling that that person impacted you a lot in some ways. I don't want you to feel obligated to talk about that individual. I'm sure you have many you could talk about, but that one I did see, and it reminded me of some of my own former students, right? And so those are always heartbreaking in the role of a leader, because one thing I always say, the one thing they can never prepare us for when we become an educator is that empty chair at graduation.
No.
That is something they can never prepare you for. So talk to us a little bit about a student who impacted you, Salome.
Yeah, I often
Changed
say
you.
there's nothing like walking into a classroom and seeing an empty chair that a 12, 13-year-old kid will never sit in again. It's amazing. The story, you talked about Willow Fullbriggs, one of my first chess players. I'm not going to share a story because I always get emotional. He's a young kid, great chess player, struggled in the community, but chess kept him in school. And once he went to high school, didn't have a program and was murdered by a younger kid. But you're putting me on the spot because there are probably thousands of students and teachers who have impacted my career. But I'll tell you one that's real relevant right now is that there's a kid that plays for the Denver Nuggets named Bones Highland. He just finished his rookie season, and he was second team all rookie. He's in the rookie all-star game. Was one of the top 3-point shooters, in the league. And he was drafted low in the first. He was drafted, wasn't a high draft pick in the first round. And many people said teams were going to regret it. The Lakers passed him over, and he scored 28 on LeBron. But what's powerful about the story is that this kid, Nashawn Bones Highland, was an elementary and middle school kid in my school and was a good chess player, but he was a much better basketball player. But he struggled as a teen, and I was hard on him. We all were hard on him. He was a great ball player. We were hard on him, and there were some things that we just didn't allow him to do. And we always thought that when he becomes the famous basketball player, he's not gonna have anything to do, with us. This kid came back in high school to our school, and he apologized to the teachers for how he behaved. And I've never seen a kid do this. Like, he actually apologized to the teachers. And then when he made his announcement in high school, he attended VCU, for college to play ball. He wore his middle school t-shirt, didn't wear his high school. And the reporter said, "Why'd you wear your middle school shirt?" He said, "And I learned how to become a man in middle school." And that taught me a lot. Like, this kid, we were so hard on this kid, but he never let that affect how he felt about the adults who impacted him. And then while in high school, his grandmother's house caught on fire. He had to jump from the second floor window. Grandmother passed away, and his young cousin passed away in a fire. He jumped from the window, shattered his patella, had an operation. Doctors told him he probably never played ball again, definitely not at that level where he was playing. He was a good high school basketball player. He came in our gym and rehabbed himself, worked out every day, rehab. He came back and in 3 straight games in high school scored 50 points or more, Jimmy, and went on to become, a college phenom, NBA, drafted, and he came to Philly to play this year. And the fire department, the guys that saved him, they came to the game and presented him with a fireman's jacket and just said how proud they were. We were all in tears. It was a big story on NBA.com. It's amazing. NPR, this story. This kid, and then he always pays respect to the firemen, pays respect. As a matter of fact, he called one of his former high school teachers to the locker room after the Denver Nuggets locker room the game. They didn't call me, but he called his former high school teacher and wanted to thank her for always believing in him. So for all you educators out there, all you teachers and administrators, that kid who's walking around who is going to be a great athlete, is going to be a great student, a great actor, entertainer, whoever, that student still needs you to be their teacher, their mentor, their role model, because we wanted to be hard on them now so it'll be easier on them later in life. And that's the story. That's how they become resilient, Jimmy. And I think knowing it makes what I do now a lot easier, because when I see these kids and I know I'm hard, I'm like, this kid's never going to love me. I know they will. when they're older, they're going to realize that the discipline was because of the love, and they'll come back and they'll thank you for it.
Okay, I'm gonna have to pause right now. Wipe this eye off
Awesome.
just a smidgen there. That was awesome.
But
And it's a
Google that,
reminder.
Jimmy. Google that story. His
I
name is
will. I'm going to. It's a reminder, right, Salome,
Yeah.
that it's the fact that that's why the power of relationships is so powerful, because when you invest time in young people to really get to know them, and they know that you care about them, you can be a little harder on them.
Right.
And the fact that all of you reminded yourself, look, in the short term, he may not be happy with us, but in the long term, it's going to pay dividends, right, for all of us. And you should feel really good about that, you and your staff. So that's a great story. And I will Google that. So I will reach out and check that out. So
powerful story, powerful.
So, Salome, this one's going to be a little tough because, again, I mean, you just mentioned there are hundreds and thousands of stories. Well, I know there's also hundreds and thousands of stories, man, because you're not only an educator, you're a poet. But I do want you to take a moment, and one of the questions I had for you is for you to share with the audience a mantra or a quote that you try to model on a daily basis. And I'm actually going to let you share a couple of them if you have them, because I have a feeling you have more than one. But I know the one that's on your website. I know the one that's, is your kind of your tagline that you often share that is a great, great mantra. But I'm going to let you talk about some of those quotes and mantras that you try to live by on a daily basis.
Yeah, I wish your boy Joe was here, because he inspires me to come up with new quotes, because I'm a big Sixers fan. In the background, I got Moses Malone and Dr. J. He's a big Milwaukee Bucks fan. He's always putting down my Sixers, but he inspires me because he thinks he's a poet and doesn't know it. But with his little videos walking around and saying his rhymes and all this kind of stuff. But well, as you know, my mantra is every child deserves somebody to be crazy about him, and I live by that. Every day I try to make sure that there's a child somewhere who knows, and then adults as well. Those staff members who work for us need to know that their administrators are crazy about them. But I also end every session. 5 minutes, 55 minutes. I end every session with saying to folks, let's stop praying for a lighter load and start praying for a stronger back, because we know that this work won't get any easier. And but not saying that we don't work hard, but just saying that, but just want folks to know that we have to be prepared for this work, because this work of a leader is not one that it's not for the weak. It's not for folks that are not courageous, and it's not for people who run from struggle. The price of leadership is conflict. So there's another one for you. I'm full of them, Jimmy.
I know, that's what I said, buddy. We can do a whole show on this. You know that. I know that.
I'm a part-time wannabe rapper, but my students say I should stick to rapping gifts, but I but those are sort of the three of the three. I also, in our work, we want to be a blesser and not a stressor for our staff members. That's another one, as well, that I'm often preaching, for folks. So just make sure that leadership is really about showing empathy. It's about understanding and patience, and being compassionate and passionate. People talk about passionate leadership, but we need that compassion, as well. And that's what building a strong culture is about, because Culture Rise is really all about making sure that you are taking care of those people, who are under your charge, the young ones, and the old ones, and then making sure that you are a champion, for those people. So, and you can't do that if you're not leading with grace and love and patience, empathy, and and understanding. So that's me. Every child deserves someone to be crazy about them, and let's stop praying for a lighter load and start praying for a stronger back.
Yeah. Well, I'm blessed, Salome, and I know that. And I know that the only reason that Culture Rise has been successful as it has been successful is because you wrote the forward for it, my man. I mean, you got it off to a great start. I mean, once they read your part, they had to keep reading.
You're just, it's the first time I ever heard you say that. Jimmy, that book's been out 20 years and you're just saying it. I appreciate that. My little 1-2 page.
I was waiting for the right moment with an audience. It doesn't matter if I just share it with one person. I want to share with a lot of people, buddy. So No, that was awesome. I still remember reaching out and I was just honored. I was just in awe. So I
I
appreciate
remember sitting down at dinner with you when you were conceptualizing this book,
that.
talking about this book, and I'm saying, wow, this book, Jimmy doesn't realize this is gonna be a big book, man. When you were just talking about what you wanted this book to mean to teachers and administrators, and how just school culture, folks have to realize that if we really want to shift the monkey, there's Todd Whitaker. See, I'm giving everybody a little props here today. That we've got to focus on, shifting our school culture. So, kudos to you and everybody who's sort of in our, we have a great network, of folks. Lavana, I'm going to shout out, Lavana and Rosa and all these other folks who are, just always star. And we've been on the road with some amazing, some amazing guys, but the women who we have, these women leaders who we've been, women they're the majority of our profession. They have the highest degrees, but yet they don't get these superintendent jobs the way men do. And we know how talented they are, Jimmy, because we work with them. Because at the core of what we do, there are women basically running, our operations pretty much.
Yep.
Supporting us. So we know, and also we had great moms who raised us and taught us the importance of always thinking about others and what we can do, for others. So you're blessed. I'm blessed. Thanks for having me. And let's keep doing this work, because there's a whole generation coming behind us. And it's not going to be an easy task for them to be able to improve the system, but it has to get done. So we got to keep pushing on.
Well, I appreciate that, my friend. And most importantly, again, as I said before, is I'm so grateful that you continue to choose to stay in this profession, because we need you and we need others like you to keep believing and to keep carrying that heavy load and keep praying for that stronger back, my friend. So thank you, my friend. God bless you. And again, thank you all for spending time with us today on the summer edition of the Weekly Show with Jimmy and Joe. A huge thank you to our special guest, Salome Thomas-EL. We would love it if you would subscribe to our YouTube channel at The Weekly Show with Jimmy and Joe, or give us a like if you enjoyed today's show with Salome. And I don't know how you could not have just thought that was amazing. If you have a question or a problem of practice that you would like us to respond to, please email your question to us at The Weekly Show, jimmyandjoe@gmail.com. We hope to see you again next time. Thank you so much. God bless.